Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss about ionic bonding as well as coordinate covalent bond. So last class we discussed about formation of covalent bond, isn't it? So we discussed how there is the formation of hydrogen molecule, oxygen molecule, nitrogen molecule. So single bond formed between the hydrogen atoms in hydrogen molecule, double bond formed between the oxygen atoms in O2 molecule, then formation of a triple bond between the nitrogen atoms in N2 molecule. So all these covalent bond formations we have already completed. Next we move into the new type of bonding called the ionic bonding. So another name for ionic bond is electrovalent bond or dative bond. Now first three more questions. What is ionic bond? So ionic bond is an electrostatic force of attraction exists between oppositively charged ions. So when you take a molecule or a compound, between the oppositively charged ions, the force of attraction present is called ionic bond or electrovalent bond. So consider a molecule, for example, sodium chloride. So this is a compound sodium chloride. When we observe these two atoms, one is electropositive in nature, another is electronegative in nature. So the electronegativity difference is large. This is electropositive or least electronegative, but at the same time chlorine, which is in the extreme right side of modern periodic table, so this is more electronegative. So in a compound, if you have electronegativity difference is a larger one, then between the atoms there will be ionic bond. So this is a simple logic. So already we have explained ionic bond formation in sodium chloride in the first class. So we studied Kossel-Lewis approach to chemical bonding. In that class I have explained ionic bond formation in sodium chloride. So today potassium chloride formation can be explained. Right? How ionic bond is formed between the atoms potassium and chlorine. So electrovalent or ionic bond formation can be explained by taking the example potassium chloride. So ionic bond is a bond formed between two atoms. If they are having more electronegativity difference, then they are forming cation as well as anion between the oppositely charged ions. Electrostatic force of attraction present, we call it as ionic bond or dative bond. So consider potassium chloride. What about atomic number of potassium? 19. Electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s1. So totally 19 electrons present. This is the arrangement of electrons in the orbitals. From the electronic configuration we know that potassium is highly unstable. It does not have any completely filled electronic configuration. At the same time, consider chlorine, atomic number 17, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p5. 17 electrons are placed in the orbitals. So this is also having incompletely filled electronic arrangement. So the chlorine is also not a stable one. It does not have completely filled electronic arrangement. So when two atoms are meeting at a point, both are unstable. So what will be the tendency of both the atoms? Always they will try to become a stable one. If two unstable atoms are meeting at a point, they are trying to achieve stability by having the electronic configuration of its nearest to noble gas. So how they are achieving the electronic configuration of noble gas? As we discussed in the previous classes, electron can be transferred from one atom into another atom, or else mutually atoms can share electrons. Thereby they can achieve the electronic configuration of its nearest to noble gas. So stability will be attained by either transfer of electron or sharing of electron. But in this case, what will be the possibility? Will you have transfer of electron or sharing of electron between potassium and chlorine? So as we said already, this is electropositive in nature, this is more electronegative in nature. This will have the tendency of losing an electron, this will have the tendency of gaining an electron. So an electron can be transferred from potassium into chlorine. So when an electron is lost by the potassium, it will have the electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6. So this will be the electronic configuration of what noble gas? When potassium loses an electron, the configuration will become 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6. This will be the configuration of noble gas argon. So potassium becomes a cation. So neutral potassium atom, by losing an electron, it achieves the electronic configuration of its nearest noble gas argon, so that by losing an electron it becomes a cation. The same is applicable for the chlorine, which is more electronegative in nature. We have the tendency of gaining an electron to achieve the electronic configuration of argon. When it accepts an electron, it becomes 3p6. So completely filled electronic arrangement will be reached when it accepts an electron. So this is the electronic configuration of its nearest noble gas argon. So that chlorine will become chloride anion. By losing an electron, potassium becomes potassium cation. The last electron is gained by the chlorine atom, so it becomes chloride anion. So between the oppositely charged ions, always there will be a force of attraction. We call it as ionic bond or electrovalent bond or dative bond. So this is ionic bond formation in potassium chloride compound. So 3 more questions. Explain formation of ionic bond in potassium chloride molecule. So there is a transfer of electron from one atom into another atom. By losing an electron, potassium becomes a cation. By gaining an electron, chlorine becomes anion. So the electron will not be lost spontaneously, right? So we have to remove the electron because the electron is loosely bounded one, which is a valence electron. So we have to remove the electron, right? So for removing the electron, energy is required. We call the energy as what? Ionization energy. So energy required to remove the loosely bounded electron from an isolated gaseous atom is called ionization energy. So how much energy required to remove an electron from potassium? So 418.81 kilojoule. So for removing the electron present in 4s orbital, we supply 418.81 kilojoule energy. Then a neutral chlorine in isolated gaseous state accepts the electron. During this process, it liberates energy. What is the process? Electron affinity or electron gain enthalpy. When a neutral isolated gaseous atom accepts an electron, it liberates energy, and the liberated energy is called what? Electron gain enthalpy. So the value is minus 348.56 kilojoule. So in the formation of potassium chloride, transfer of electron takes place. That means there are two processes: formation of cation and formation of anion. Formation of cation will be initiated by providing the energy. So this is called ionization energy. Formation of chloride liberates energy. We call it as electron gain enthalpy. The values are given. So the difference in the value is 70.25 kilojoule. Next important one more question. Even though the difference is a smaller positive value, for 1 mole potassium chloride formation, so this is for just one molecule. For one molecule we have represented the energy changes. How much energy is given, how much energy is liberated. For 1 mole potassium chloride, how much energy is liberated, right? So for the formation of 1 mole potassium chloride, the energy liberation is 780 kilojoule. So one more question, right? For each crystal, for each solid compound, the value will be there. So we call this as lattice enthalpy. So in remaining lessons we will study what is lattice enthalpy. So this is the liberated energy during the formation of 1 mole potassium chloride. So with this ionic bond over. So two type of bonds we have completed. One is covalent bond, another one is ionic bond. Third one, coordinate bond or coordinate covalent bond. So this is called coordinate bond or coordinate covalent bond. So simply observe the molecule boron trifluoride. So last class we discussed about certain molecules will not obey octet rule. They are stable, at the same time they won't obey octet rule. This is an example. A molecule with electron deficient central atom is an example for molecule which won't obey octet rule. So last class we studied now. Boron trifluoride. So when we observe this Lewis dot structure, all the fluorine atoms are stabilized. The 3 fluorine atoms are obeying the octet rule. Around fluorine, 8 electrons will be there. But what about boron? 2, 4, 6. Only 6 electrons present. So this boron is electron diffusion in nature, but the molecule is stable. So this is the most preferable structure based on the formal charge. We calculated for all the atoms formal charge value is 0, so that we fixed this as a preferable structure. So this is not a preferred structure, right? So boron trifluoride is a molecule in which the central atom is electron diffusion in nature. It does not obey octet rule. Now consider ammonia molecule. In ammonia, this is electron dot structure. So after the formation of 3 covalent bonds between the nitrogen and the hydrogen, 3 covalent bonds will be formed. Right. So this is Lewis dot structure for ammonia. Nitrogen has 5 valence electron. Out of 5 valence electron, 3 electrons are shared with the hydrogen, right? And each hydrogen will share 1 electron. So there are 3 covalent bonds. When you take ammonia molecule, there are 5 valence electrons for nitrogen. 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. Second cell has 5 electrons, valence cell has 5 electrons. Out of 5 electrons, 3 electrons are used to make 3 covalent bonds with the hydrogen atoms. Remaining 2 electrons will be present as lone pair of electron. So this is electron dot structure we completed already. Next, when these 2 molecules are meeting at a point, so this is electron diffusion molecule. A molecule with electron diffusion central atom. It needs 2 more electrons to be stable one. Around boron, 6 electrons present. It is not obeying octet rule. It needs 2 more electrons to obey octet rule. So this is a molecule with electron diffusion central atom. Consider ammonia molecule. Nitrogen has a lone pair of electron. This lone pair of electron has not involved in bonding. So this is unshared pair of electron or lone pair of electron. When these 2 molecules are meeting at a point, the nitrogen donates a pair of electron to bromine. So not a boron, right? So in ammonia, lone pair of electron present on nitrogen will be donated to boron trifluoride. So there will be a bond formation between boron as well as nitrogen. So due to the donation of lone pair of electron, a bond is formed between the two atoms of two different molecules. So this bond is actually called as what? Coordinate covalent bond. Ionic bond means between the cation and anion, electrostatic force of attraction present. That is ionic bond. If atoms are mutually sharing electrons, both the atoms are sharing one electron, means it forms a covalent bond. For one covalent bond, two electron or one pair of electron. So that we call the pair of electron as what? Bonded pair or shared pair of electron. Here a new type of bond. Instead of mutual sharing of electron, mutually electrons are not shared. Instead of that, nitrogen donates a pair of electron to electron deficient atom in the another molecule. So a new type of bond is formed. This is called a coordinate bond or coordinate covalent bond. Usually covalent bond will be indicated by what symbol? A hyphen, right? The covalent bond will be indicated by a hyphen which represents, for one covalent bond 12 electrons present. This is due to mutual sharing of electrons. But for coordinate covalent bond, we use an arrow mark. Coordinate covalent bond is represented by an arrow mark. So this arrow mark indicates electrons are transferred from which atom into which atom. So nitrogen atom donates a pair of electron to boron. So this is called a donor. Ammonia molecule is behaving as electron pair donor. This boron trifluoride is acting as electron pair acceptor. This is donor atom in the molecule. This is acceptor atom in the molecule. So why we have to use arrow mark to represent coordinate covalent bond? By observing the arrow mark, you can easily identify which is acting as donor, which is acting as acceptor. Right? So coordinate bond or coordinate covalent bond is defined as due to donation of pair of electron from one atom into another atom, a bond is formed which is called a coordinate bond or coordinate covalent bond. Usually coordinate covalent bond will be represented by an arrow mark which indicates which atom is acting as a donor, which is acting as acceptor. So here ammonia molecule is acting as electron pair donor, boron trifluoride molecule is acting as electron pair acceptor. This is a simple example. We may take one more example. Take ferrocyanide ion, Fe Cl 6 times 4 minus. So this is an anion. In 12th standard we will discuss this one. This is a separate chapter, coordination chemistry. So the compound is somewhat different. This is not like ordinary inorganic compound. So the compound is called the coordination compound because of this bond. The bond is a different one, coordinate covalent bond. So that this compound is called the coordination compound. Generally the name will be ferrocyanide ion. The exact name is hexacyanidoferrate 2 ion. In 12th standard you will study. Okay. So in this coordination compound or coordination complex, we have to know how there is a formation of coordinate bond. The central atom is iron. Oxidation state of iron is 2+. What about the charge of cyanide ion? For one cyanide, charge is 1 minus. Totally 6 cyanide ions present. Charge of cyanide, always the charge is 1 minus for this anion. Cyanide ion has 1 minus as a charge. 6 cyanide ion present, so charge is 6 minus. And what is the charge of central metal atom? 2+. So overall charge for the complex 6 minus 2, 4. Minus 6 plus 2, so minus 4. Right. So consider the complex ferrocyanide ion. Central atom has oxidation state 2+. This is cyanide ion. Each cyanide ion has oxidation state 1 minus. Now all these cyanide ions donates a pair of electron to central atom. Right. So each cyanide ion will donate a pair of electron because on nitrogen as well as carbon lone pair of electrons will be there, right? Nitrogen as well as carbon lone pair of electron will be there. So each cyanide ion donates a pair of electron to central atom. So this is what type of bond? Coordinate covalent bond. So that we have used arrow mark. So this is a coordination compound. Overall charge is 4 minus. Central atom ion with oxygen assisted 2 plus. All the 6 cyanide ions are donating a pair of electron. So how much coordinate covalent bond present in this complex cell? Totally 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 coordinate covalent bond are present. So with this we have completed 3 type of chemical bonds. Covalent bond, ionic bond as well as coordinate covalent bond. Next we move into bond parameters. So bond parameters are applicable for a covalent bond. Right. Certain parameters are there, like bond length, bond order, bond angle, bond enthalpy. So these parameters are related to covalent bond. So first we take bond length. Each one is a 2 mark question. So what is bond length, bond order, bond angle as well as bond enthalpy? Bond length means consider a covalent molecule, right? For example, if you take hydrogen, this is a covalent molecule. 2 hydrogen atoms are mutually sharing electrons. Covalent bond is formed between the hydrogen atoms, right? So mutually electrons are shared between the hydrogen atoms. So there is a formation of covalent bond. Bond length is nothing but the distance between the 2 nucleus. It's called internuclear distance. So in a covalent molecule, the distance between the center of nucleus of 2 atoms is called what? Bond length. Right? So this is the definition. Bond length is the internuclear distance. Next, one more question. How will you calculate bond length? Using spectroscopic techniques. So we have instruments, right? Spectrometry instruments are there, right? So using spectroscopic techniques or X-ray diffraction techniques, X-ray will be passed in the covalent molecule, or electron diffraction technique. So by following these techniques, using the instruments, we can calculate bond length. Right? So bond length is the distance between the 2 nucleus atoms in the covalently bonded molecule. Next, bond length is depending on 2 factors, right? One is size of atom, another one is number of bonds, number of covalent bonds present between 2 atoms in the molecule. So this is mainly based on 2 factors. If size of atom is more, right? When you take carbon as well as carbon single bond. So 2 carbon atoms mutually shared electrons, it forms a covalent bond. Both are similar atoms. So bond length between the nucleus of 2 carbon atoms 1.54 angstrom. The bond length for a single covalent bond between the carbon atoms in a molecule is called 1.54 angstrom. At the same time, if dissimilar atoms are combined together to form a molecule, so here bond length is reduced 1.43 angstrom. So bond length is depending on the size of an atom. So here 2 carbon atoms with a similar size, bond length between the carbon atoms 1.54 angstrom. Comparing the carbon, nitrogen has lesser size. So atomic radius have reduced, because when we move from left to right, atomic size decreases. So between the carbon and nitrogen, bond length for this single covalent bond is reduced 1.43 angstrom. So as I said, bond length depends on size as well as number of covalent bond between the atoms. If only one bond is present, we have only single bond, means this is bond length. If you take alkenes, double bond will be present between the carbon atoms. So here bond length will be reduced 1.33 angstrom. Again, if you take alkynes, triple bond present between the carbon atoms means strength will be increased. Comparing alkene has more stronger bond, so length reduces. For alkynes, 1.20 angstrom. So when number of bonds increased, attraction between the atoms will increase. That means the strength of covalent bond will be increased. So bond length will be reduced. So this is first parameter, bond length. Second one, bond order. So in the same chemical bonding lesson, we use the word bond order in two concepts. One is in case of covalent bond. Right? So this is a bond order. This concept will be used in covalent bond concept. The same word bond order will be discussed later in MOT concept. This is called a molecular orbital theory. So don't confuse, right? So if the question is what is bond order means, you write both the definitions. We have a definition of bond order in covalent bond as well as bond order definition in molecular orbital theory. You just write both the things. So don't confuse bond order in two concepts, covalent bond as well as molecular orbital theory. So here in covalent bond concept, bond order simply represents how much covalent bond present between two atoms in a molecule. When you take a molecule, between the two atoms, they are covalently bonded. How much bond present between two atoms? So this is called a bond order. According to Lewis concept, the number of shared pair of electrons present between the atoms in a molecule. This is called a bond order. This is a definition. Okay. So when you take hydrogen molecule, between the hydrogen atoms, only one covalent bond exists. So bond order value 1. At the same time, oxygen molecule, between the oxygen atoms, two covalent bonds present. Bond order 2. So out of two covalent bond, one is sigma, another one is pi bond. We discussed already. This single covalent bond, this is double bond. Due to the presence of two covalent bonds between the atoms in a molecule, bond order value 2. If it is N2, between the nitrogen atoms, 3 covalent bonds exist, bond order value 3. In terms of number of shared pair of electrons also same value. How much shared pair of electrons present? For one covalent bond, one shared pair of electron or 2 electron. So here between the hydrogen atoms, one shared pair of electrons present. So bond order 1. 2 shared pair of electrons between oxygen atoms in O2 molecule, bond order value 2. 3 shared pair of electrons between the nitrogen atoms in N2 molecule, bond order value 3. So this is second parameter. What is bond order? Next one, bond angle. Okay. So consider the molecule methane. So this is a methane molecule, CH4. There are 4 covalent bonds between the carbon as well as hydrogen. And later we are going to discuss a concept called the valence bond theory, in which we will study hybridization. Okay. So in methane molecule, hybridization will be sp3 hybridization. The possible structure will be tetrahedral structure. Tetrahedral. Right? The structure is tetrahedral. So the actual structure of methane will be like what? This one. So this simply represents all the 4 hydrogen atoms are in different sides, right? In different directions. So when there is a formation of covalent molecule, that means during the formation of a covalent bond, each atom will orient in a particular direction. So this is highly directional in nature. Covalent bond formation is highly directional in nature because mutual sharing of electron is taking place via overlapping. We will discuss later. Atomic orbitals are overlapping to form a covalent bond. This overlapping is taking place in one particular direction. So covalent molecule in which atoms will be in particular directions, right? So that for each hybridization we have different structure. sp means linear, sp2 trigonal planar, sp3 tetrahedral, like this. For each hybridization there will be different structures. So different structure is obtained by what? The atom is orienting in different directions. So this is directional nature. When the atoms are orienting in different directions in a covalent molecule, between the covalent bonds there will be an angle. Usually angle will be denoted in terms of degree. So this is called a bond angle, because what? Between the covalent bonds, how much angle is it? This is called bond angle, right? So for each hybridization there is a particular bond angle and a structure. So in methane molecule, sp3 hybridization, tetrahedral structure, bond angle is 109 degree 28 minutes. So this value is expected for all the molecules containing sp3 hybridization, right? If you find the hybridization, you can automatically say what will be the bond angle between the covalent bonds as well as what will be the structure. Okay, for methane molecule based on sp3 hybridization, bond angle value is 109 degree 28 minutes. Consider the next molecule, ammonia. Ammonia also has sp3 hybridization, but bond angle will be changed. So this will be discussed in next concept called VS-EPR theory. Right? So for ammonia molecule, bond angle is reduced 107 degree 18 minutes. sp3 hybridization, bond angle, sp3 hybridization, but it won't get the same bond angle due to lone pair of electron. We will discuss later. On nitrogen there will be a lone pair of electron. Consider water. In water also sp3 hybridization, due to the presence of lone pair of electron on oxygen, bond angle will not be obtained as 109 degree 28 minutes, 104 degree 35 minutes. So this is called the bond angle, right? Next one, bond enthalpy. Consider a covalent bond, right? So between the hydrogen atoms there is a covalent bond. Bond enthalpy means how much energy required to break this covalent bond. This is called the bond enthalpy, or bond energy, or bond dissociation energy. All these are representing the same meaning. So bond enthalpy represents the energy required to break 1 mole of particular bond in a gaseous state, in a molecule which is in gaseous state. This is called a bond enthalpy, right? This is also 2 more question. So energy required to break 1 mole of particular bond of a molecule in its gaseous state. So this is bond energy or enthalpy. So for this type of molecule, hydrogen or fluorine or chlorine, for these diatomic molecules only one single bond present. So we can easily calculate what is bond enthalpy, right? How much energy is given. You can easily find bond enthalpy value when you take polyatomic molecules. For homonuclear diatomic molecule, value will be calculated easily when you take polyatomic molecules like H2O. Take water, this is a polyatomic molecule, right? More than 2 atoms present. So totally 3 atoms, right? So what will be the structure? It has tetrahedral structure. So here there are 2 covalent bonds. Bond enthalpy of this bond will be different from this one, right? But don't think that both are same type of covalent bond. Oxygen is bonded with the hydrogen, oxygen is bonded with another hydrogen. Don't think that these 2 covalent bonds will be broken by applying same amount of energy. So to break this bond, a separate energy is needed. To break this covalent bond, we need a different energy, right? So these 2 will be broken by supplying different amount of energy. So in case of polyatomic molecule, always bond enthalpy is expressed in terms of average bond enthalpy value. As a total, how much energy is required. Okay. So we need bond enthalpy to break this bond, and we have a bond enthalpy value to break this bond. You just take average for these two values. So average bond enthalpy will be expressed for a polyatomic molecule, right? So for water, first, when water is in gas state, when we supply energy, we break this bond first. For breaking this bond, how much energy required? So we take this as delta H1. For breaking this covalent bond, we provide energy 502 kilojoule per mole. So when water molecule in which we supply energy, it becomes hydrogen as well as OH. So we break this bond. The energy required to break the bond is 502 kilojoule per mole. Again, we have to break this covalent bond. So OH will become oxygen and hydrogen. To break this covalent bond, how much energy required? Delta H2 is equal to 427 kilojoule per mole. So as I said already, in our appearance, both covalent bonds are similar. So oxygen is bonded with two similar hydrogen atoms. We think that what? Bond enthalpy for this bond as well as this bond will be similar, but it won't be like this. To break this covalent bond, we need a different amount of energy like 502 kilojoule per mole. To break another covalent bond, we need a different amount of energy like 427 kilojoule per mole. So that we take average for these two values. So bond enthalpy of water is always expressed in terms of average bond enthalpy. So calculate average value. Delta H is equal to 502 plus 427 divided by 2. So value will be 464.5. So unit kilojoule per. So this is called bond enthalpy. So today we have completed what is ionic bond. We have explained how ionic bond is formed between K plus and Cl minus in potassium chloride salt. Ionic bond completed. Next one, coordinate covalent bond or simply coordinate bond. How there is a formation of coordinate bond between ammonia as well as boron trifluoride, and the existence of coordinate bond in ferrocyanide ion. So in case of ferrocyanide, each cyanide ion donates a pair of electron to central atom. So this is an acceptor, right? This is called a central metal atom. This is a donor, which is called Lewis base, right? This is a ligand. Okay. This is called a ligand. This is central metal atom. We will discuss in 12th. Then bond parameters. So we have completed bond parameters. Bond length, bond order, bond angle as well as bond enthalpy. 4 parameters we have completed. Tomorrow we start next concept, Fajan's rule, based on the polarity. Right? Polarity in covalent bond. Fajan's rule we will discuss tomorrow. Okay, thank you.